Hi, my name is Randy Berner, and my module is entitled The Use of Email for Children in First through Eighth Grades. And this is basically meant to be a YouTube video that I'll turn into a module. The intended audience are parents of children under the age of 13. And also for teachers wishing to use email for student projects such as overseas pen pals or writing letters to Congress, etc. And so the question is, why the age of 13? And mainly this is because of a federal law known as COPPA. This is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and it was passed in uh, the around 2007. And it permits any company to collect information from kids under the age of 13 for mainly the purposes of marketing data. So this would include any email service that we all normally use, like Gmail or Yahoo. So those are actually illegal for those companies to offer those for kids under 13. And actually, when you set up an account, you might not have noticed this, but you have to answer a question. Are you over 13? And of course, many kids under 13 bypass this, or their parents do. But I'll talk about why they really shouldn't. And it's mainly because using sites like Gmail can lead to exposure to inappropriate spam. We all get that. We all know what kind of crazy things we get. Possibly cyberbullying, and maybe even predators. And of course, there are instances of these kinds of things happening and other dangers. So, do we even want kids in grade school using email? And the answer is yes. It is a lifelong skill. It's something we're all tied to, maybe a little bit too closely. It does allow them to communicate with family and friends. I'll refer to this a little bit, but my 8-year-old is currently using one of these services and fairly successfully connecting with family and especially a friend that just moved out of town. They also practice important skills like composition. And in theory, when you're writing an email, it's a little bit more formal than texting, less formal, of course, than writing for school. But I just am noticing anecdotally, my 8-year-old is definitely practicing letter writing skills. And of course, reading. And lastly, things we might not think about so much, they are practicing keyboarding skills and other computer skills like figuring out how to use files and insert photos, playing around with different fonts and emojis and those kind of things. And so the question is, are there alternatives? And of course, yes, there are. And my teaching module would introduce parents and teachers to these alternatives. They're mostly all free, but you know how this goes. They hook you in as a free user, and then there are different levels of membership, right? So if you want to use all of the applications, they do require a subscription, but we're getting along without paying anything. And these sites allow parents to view and then potentially block any incoming message. They can also view the ensuing conversation between their child and any other user. And especially for younger children, this is obviously very important. Kids closer to 13 are going to push back on this, but that's really up to the parent. And lastly, parents can be assured that their child is not being spammed because they're looking at every single email that's coming in, as well as being cyberbullied or stalked or something else. So what will be required of the learner in this module? Parents will need to have a basic understanding of email use and be able to set up an email account. They'll need about 5 or 10 minutes and to watch the video. And they'll also need anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to further investigate this independently and try out the different options. for children's email. An accompanying module for kids would also be part of what become a series of module on internet safety for children. So really, this is just one module out of maybe 10 or 15 different modules that would be about internet safety. The instructional elements and strategies, we would introduce COPPA and explain all those different aspects of the negative sides of commercial email. We would present the different email options, and there they are. And I'll also have a page at the end of this presentation, talk about those really quickly. It would explain how to set up an account. We need a safe username for the child. It should not be based on their name or anything else that can tie them back to their address or whatever. And obviously add safe contacts, so your friends and family. Instruct parents to teach the child proper use of email. And so a couple of slides on this explain the difference between a service for kids and a commercial service, and make sure that their child understands that everything will be viewed by their parent. The instructional tools that I use will be taped webcast on YouTube. They'll be accompanied by a blog, and on this blog, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but parents will be able to ask questions. I will use PowerPoint or Google Slides, like I'm using right now, and record the narrated presentation on Screencastify, like I'm doing right now. The presentation will include links to videos, screen captures of email, websites, and other pop-up graphics. And additional sources could be used, like Blackboard, if I wanted to set up smaller breakout discussion groups after people watch, if they're doing it almost synchronously rather than asynchronously. Measuring success and motivated learners. So will parents be proficient in finding and setting up a service? Will parents set up the account with approved email contacts? Will parents teach their children to use the email responsibly? Will children use a service with parent supervision, especially at ages closer to 13 years of age? Is the big question, right? Will they actually use this, especially at the older ages, when it's kind of like Big Brother, right? Watching over their shoulder. Can younger children log in independently if the parents allow? And this is, a parent's choice if they want their kids using this at this age. And lastly, will parents pass along this knowledge to other parents? So will this gain traction in a community? How can parents ask questions and connect? As I said before, a blog will accompany the module where parents can find further resources, ask technical questions, and possibly connect with other parents. So this would have to be overseen by me on a continuous basis. Since the module will be available on YouTube, they can also post questions and comments under the video. But really, the blog is more the forum for this kind of thing. So these are the possible email websites for kids if you wanted to take a look at those independently. The ones that I'm using with my 8-year-old is called Zillidog. And the last one, of course, is Google for Education. And that's mainly for teachers. Parents are really unable to log in to that for themselves. But if teachers were using email and had that account, they could certainly use that for pen pals and whatnot. And lastly, these are some articles and websites that discuss this more fully. And so that is the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening.